Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Duke. Today I have the S class of SUVs. You know, when a manufacturer releases the luxury version of something, they always benchmark it against Mercedes's S class. I mean, it's quite something to be compared to the S class of Mercedes. And now for Mercedes to create an SUV and then give it that S status, it raises a lot of questions to those of us who are big fans of Mercedes. So the question I have for this one is it really the S class of SUVs? Or is it just a GLE plus? Spoiler alert. I think this is a GLE plus. But stick around to this video. I'm going to take you through this car, the inside, the outsides, the dimensions, and you can judge for yourself as to whether this is the S class of SUVs or just a GLE plus. So let's start this video with the engine, shall we? So this is a 3-liter turbocharged diesel V6. I'm not sure if I said that in the correct order. It sounded awkward, but yeah, this is a 3-liter V6 diesel with a turbocharger strapped onto it, and it gives you a power output of 190 kilowatts and a maximum torque of 620 newton meters. So this is the GLS 350d, and in some regions of the world, like your Americas, you got this exact same car. It's just named the 450d. It's the same engine. We're filming this in South Africa and we got the 350d. Let's take a look around this beastly looking body kit. So this does have the AMG pack. That's why it looks so aggressive. So this is the, I'd say, entry-level GLS with an AMG pack, and it looks aggressive. It looks mean. It looks angry. It looks like it has 4 pipes at the back, but we'll get into that into a second. So we have, I'd say, 4 air intake areas, or what looks like air intake areas, but it's really just the top grille with the Mercedes-Benz logo and the bottom with the number plate that really take in air. The 2 side vents there are blocked out. Yeah, it doesn't need to suck in that much air. You have a camera facing in the front and LED lights in the front with daytime running lights. And let's talk a bit about dimensions, because this is really where the GLS sets itself apart from the GLE. So it's longer by about 30 centimeters and higher by 5 centimeters. The wheelbase is 16 centimeters longer than a GLE, and it sits about 1.5 centimeters higher off the ground than GLE. So what you're buying here when you're buying a GLS, in my opinion, is you're buying a taller car, you're buying a longer car, you're buying a car that sits slightly higher off the ground than a GLE, and all those dimensions basically contribute to you having an extra row of seats at the back. So this is a 7-seater, but we'll get into that in a minute. Let's talk rims now, as we always do on this channel. So with the AMG pack, you get these 5 twin spoke AMG style rims, and these are 21 inches, and I think these are the rims to get, especially if you saw the brake disc there. They are ventilated. It just adds to the coolness of AMG to have rims that expose your brake discs if they are ventilated. I think it just adds to that aggression, that AMG styling. And these rims are huge. They look ordinary because the car itself is massive, and I think they sit well with this car. I can't imagine you getting smaller rims on a car this size. For a closer look at the back, where you get all the badging, so this is a GLS 350d. Once again, it's a 3-liter turbocharged V6 diesel engine, and this is the 4Matic. So 4Matic, it's just Mercedes' way of saying this car pulls with all four wheels. So it's similar to BMW's xDrive, VW's 4Motion, Audi's Quattro. Yeah, so it's just Mercedes saying it pulls with all four wheels. And here you have an exhaust pipe. Not. So these are fake exhausts. You do get twin pipes, but they're like hidden. So these are just fake surrounds. So if you look there, those are the real exhausts underneath there. I'm not sure if it's a good thing that they hid them. They don't look too fancy, but yeah, you get two fake exhaust tips. Mercedes, stop it. Just put real exhaust pipes, please. And just continuing with the theme of hidden objects, you do get an electronically retractable tow bar. So if you need to use your tow bar, just flick a button, your tow bar is there. And if you're not using it, you can keep it hidden, just flicking a button, it's hidden there. It's nice, I like it, the retractable tow bar, it keeps the back of the car clean. We could do with some real exhaust pipes though, but yeah, the retractable tow bar thing can stay. Now we'll start the interior of the car by looking at the driver's door panel. The choice of materials is pretty plain. It's just a whole lot of leather and a wooden insert. You also have your seat functions with memory settings. Your lock and unlock button is on the driver's door. You have your mirror switches, you have your window switches, nothing out of the ordinary there, and you have some other controls there. For one of them is for that retractable tow bar, and the other button is for this little window here for the third row of seats. At first when I saw this, I thought this is just a gimmick, this is unnecessary, but I can imagine it gets a bit stuffy back here. But the weird thing about it is you can only control it from the driver's door. There's no control for it at the back on the third row of seats. Yeah, we have a song here in South Africa which says Skabora Moreki. Loosely translated, that means don't bore a GLS driver, otherwise it's gonna get stuffy for you back there. As we now step into the car, I'm just gonna show you what this car looks like at night, because the daylight here is not really doing it justice. So what I'm trying to show you here is the ambient lighting. It's not a lot, just a little bit in the dash and in the doors. You can see a little bit of it there in the door just under the seat controls. This is one of the three colors that you can change the ambient lighting to. So it's either this blue or a warm white yellowish color, or just white like the Mercedes-Benz wording there is. You can change the ambient lighting to that color, and yeah, that's basically all the ambient lighting you get. It's not like the Mercedes of nowadays that look like a Christmas tree at night. Yeah, it's very subtle. And continuing our journey into the car, on the side of the driver's seat you'll get your lumbar support controls. You get AMG embroidered mats that comes with the AMG styling. You get aluminum pedals as well. And as we move further into the interior of the car, you get wooden trim on the center console and on the passenger side dash there. I think wooden trim is a bit out of place, seeing that this is like the AMG styling. I think if you went for a carbon fiber effect or silver grayish kind of inserts, I think those were your other options. I think those would have been better suited. And just as we look at this interior, this is just a plain interior. I think this is underwhelming for me, seeing as this is the S-Class of SUVs. I don't see any S-Class here. I see an interior that was in a GLE and got lifted from a GLE and got put in here. I mean, a person that bought an S-Class in the same time that this GLS was bought got a digital driver's display as an instrument cluster. Yeah, it's very underwhelming. But the glove compartment does fall slowly, it's dampered, it's also lined with felt, so you don't hear things rattling in there. Also, nothing out of the ordinary. I'm sorry, this interior is just not S-Class standard. You also get a place to put your sunglasses, and it's also lined with felt so you don't scratch your Ray-Bans, if those of you that wear Ray-Bans. I think that's the most popular sunglass brand. And you also get a sunroof in this car, so you control it with that button there. I'll turn the camera around just now just to show you. So that's the sunroof. You control it with electricity, as you would expect in a Mercedes, in a modern-ish Mercedes. And I'm just going to show you from the outside. I don't know why I keep showing you panoramic roofs from the outside, as if you're going to stand outside of your car and look at the sunroof from the same angle that the sun is shining at. Yeah, but that's the panoramic sunroof from the outside. This is probably the only time you'd see it from the outside. Otherwise, you're just enjoying the view from the inside of your GLE Plus. I think that's what I should call it from now on. It's a GLE Plus. Like, there's nothing that sets this car apart from a GLE. And you'll see even the interior, it's a GLE interior. If you look at the V222 S-Class, that was the S-Class that was released around at the same time as this car, it doesn't have this interior. It has a proper S-Class interior. This has a GLE interior. And there I'm just showing you the sun blind. It's translucent, so a little bit of sun comes through, but yeah, I think it's enough to shade you from the sun. So if you're burning, you can just close the sun blind there. It's not manually operated, it's electronically operated. And this is just the view from the middle row. So this is the second row of seats, where passenger 3, 4, 5 would sit. So it's not where passenger 6 and 7 would sit. So now I'm just going to turn around and show you the only difference between a GLE and a GLS, and it is those two extra seats back there. Otherwise, the two cars give you the exact same features. The only difference between the two cars is just dimensions. This is not an S-Class. Like, you look inside, it's not an S-Class. This doesn't even have soft closed doors. I mean, the W140, that's the 1998 Mercedes-Benz S-Class, had soft closed doors. This doesn't have soft closed doors. The V222 S-Class had the option to have the rear executive seats. Those are the seats that you can recline in the back, and it came with those pillow-like headrests. This car doesn't have that. But anyway, moving along, I'm now going to show you the 360-degree camera, but one of the cameras don't work. So on the right is the rear view camera, and on the left you can see the left camera, which is mounted on the left mirror. It doesn't work. I think the owner must have hit something with the left camera, and now that camera does not work. So yeah, that's one of the disadvantages of having one of your 360-degree cameras mounted on the mirror. If you hurt your mirror, there's a chance you might break the camera, and I think to replace that camera you're gonna have to replace the whole mirror. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a cheap fix. Now for a closer look at the center console and dash. So in the center console you'll find your driving modes, like for off-road, for tar, for snow, for sandy driving, and you also get your swivel wheel. If you slide open the compartment, the little wooden slider there, you get your 2 cup holders, which you can heat and cool. If you have like hot beverages there, you can keep them warm with that button or keep them cool with the same button. So it is heated and cooled, but most of us are just gonna keep our change in there. And that random compartment is not a wireless charging pad, it is just a random compartment. It doesn't charge anything wirelessly. And in the center dash area we have a random SD card slot. I just can't get my mind off that random SD card slot. I've seen it in a couple of Mercedes models, and I don't know why they keep putting it there. And my issue is more with putting it there. Like, it could have been in the glove compartment, it could have been in the center console compartment, but yeah, it's there. So the center console compartment, you get two USB ports here. So the one is for charging only, and the other one you can use it for multimedia use, like plug your phone and play music through your phone that way, or plug in a USB or iPod and you can play it through the infotainment system. And now let's take a short drive in our GLE Plus, and I'll tell you a couple more things about it while we're on the road. This is a pretty cool car. I just don't think it's worthy of the S status. I don't know if I've convinced you this far, but yeah, let's go for a short drive. Now, I'm going to mention just a few things which I think you would expect in a car that's been compared to an S-Class, especially if that same car is made by the same manufacturer that makes the very S-Class that this car is being likened to. So, like for example, in this car, I don't know if you noticed there, but I had to turn a key fob like in the dashboard to fire up the engine. So this car doesn't have push start. It also doesn't have keyless entry, like this very one. You can get it, but that's an optional extra. This car doesn't have a heads-up display. I mean, guys, that's a feature you get in a Mazda. Like a Mazda CX-5 has heads-up display. But anyway, moving along. This car only has heated front seats. So if you want your front seats to be heated and cooled, the cooling aspect of it is an optional extra, so it only comes standard with heated seats, and the seats do not massage you. You want massage seats in your GLS? Don't get a GLS, because massage seats are not an option in a GLS. Yeah, the S-Class of SUVs doesn't have massage seats. In this very vehicle, you do have lane departure warning, but you don't have lane keep assist. You also don't have a radar cruise control in this car. That's an optional extra. You also do not have night vision. So in an S-Class, you can get night vision in an S-Class, but as you can see, the instrument cluster in this car has analog dials. So you don't have a screen like a screen as an instrument cluster, so you can't get night vision. It's not an optional extra, like you only get manual dials as an instrument cluster in your S-Class of SUVs. But anyway, now moving into how this car drives. So this car doesn't have that clever suspension that the real S-Class has, whereby it reads the imperfections of the roads and adjusts the suspension accordingly. No, this just has regular air suspension that you can lower and rise if you want a lowered or raised ride height, depending on which driving mode you're on. So if you put it in sport, it does lower the suspension a bit and stiffens it up. And if you put in normal mode, it rides it in its normal ride height and it softens it up a bit. But I feel that you'd probably like to drive this in sport most of the time for the suspension, because even though it is stiff, it's still soft enough to ride in sport. And the reason why you wouldn't drive it in the normal driving mode is I feel it's a bit too wobbly. Yeah, it's too soft. Like the car can't sit still, especially in South African roads which are uneven and stuff. The car wobbles a bit too much for my liking, so just put it in sport and then it stiffens up the suspension a bit, but still keeps it quite comfortable. It still has that Mercedes comfort in its sport setting, so it doesn't like destroy your spinal cord with the stiffness. Sport is the driving mode you want to keep this car in. And in terms of power, 190 kilowatts of power and 620 newton meters of torque is more than enough to move this big bus around. And 0 to 100, this car is a rocket, y'all. It goes from 0 to 100 in 4 seconds flat. Nah, I'm joking. It does it in a little over double that. So 0 to 100, I didn't time this myself, but it's about 8.3 seconds, yeah, and that sounds pretty accurate. So when you're launching this car, when you put your foot down, there is some turbo lag, as this is a heavy car, so the car does struggle with some inertia in the beginning, so it is a bit slow to take off. Then the turbo kicks in, and then you get a sudden boost of power, but that's very short lived, and then after that sudden boost, everything is just normal again, as in after that sudden spike of power, and then it's just normal pickup from there. So as you can see in that small red square with the S inside, I am driving it in sports mode, and that's the mode I was driving it in all the time, and I am chowing about 20 liters per 100 kilometer. I was probably chowing a bit more than that, and Mercedes just said we'll show them just up to 20. Yeah, I'm convinced I was chowing a bit more than that. So this car does have a fuel tank of 100 liters. The fuel tank capacity is 100 liters, and in South Africa, with the current diesel price rounded to 22 rand per liter, it'll cost you about 2,200 rand to fill this tank, and at 20 liters per 100 kilometer, it will not take you very long to empty that tank in this car. And I'll end the video here, guys. Tell me what you think about the GLS. Is it worthy to be named a GLS? Is it worthy of being the S class of SUVs? Or is this just a GLE with 2 extra seats? I personally think this is just a GLE with 2 extra seats. Take nothing away from it. A GLE is a brilliant car, and if you add 2 more seats to a GLE, it's a brilliant car with 2 extra seats. But S-Class brilliant? I don't think so. Let me know what you think, guys. If you made it this far in the video, please like the video. Subscribe if you haven't. More content on the way, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Cheers, guys.